All right, Genesis 11, let's call this one too much. Why? Because I was trying to do too much with too many of those past videos. 5 minutes isn't a lot of time, and that can create the pressure to try to do too much. And that's what I think I was doing. So what I want to do now is go back, fix the content, talking about not only what the subject matter is, but what I think went wrong in my approach the first time, so that in fixing my content publicly, it might encourage you to fix whatever you need to fix with what you're working on, whether you have to make public changes or not. Just do what you need to do to get it right. And so hopefully me trying to do that will encourage you to do the same thing, especially if all you have to do is make private changes. So with that, it's not just my personal life, it's what I think I see going on in chapter 11 with the story of the Tower of Babel, a place in which folks were building up at a time when it seems that God was encouraging them to build out. And it doesn't literally say that they're disobeying God, but back in chapter 9, verses 1 and 7, he's telling Noah some things that makes it seem like the folks at the Tower of Babel are not doing what he had specifically requested. In verse 1 of chapter 9, and God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. In verse 7 of chapter 9, it says, and you be fruitful and multiply, teem on the earth and multiply in it. However, in chapter 11 at verse 4, this is what the folks at the tower, what was going to become the Tower of Babel, had decided they were going to do. Then they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. And a couple of things to notice in those verses are, one, a lot of times when we're trying to do too much, it's because we're trying to make a name for ourselves. And God willing, I wasn't trying to do too much in the sake of vain or for the sake of vain glory. But even if I was, sometimes it's important to take a look in the mirror and say, okay, why was I really doing this? So that you can effectively, like we talked about in the last video, fix your process. And so sometimes fixing process means taking a hard look at what my motives really are. And so to the degree I was trying to be too big personally, I need to fix that so the content doesn't come out looking wrecked. Other thing that it's important to notice is that in trying to do too much, we can often compromise things we need to do in favor of things we want to do. And that's exactly what's going on here. They wanted to build up. They needed to build out, and they couldn't do both. For me, the manifestation was content that was less than what I was hoping to produce. For them, the potential was they were actually going to be successful in doing too much, and it created this problem that God notes in verse 6. In verse 6 of chapter 11. And the Lord said, behold, they are one people and they all have one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing they propose to do will now be impossible for them. The key word or phrase is that they propose to do. The things that they were proposing to do were unhealthy. And so if we are potentially going to be successful in doing unhealthy things, it is a blessing when God intervenes. Understand, Cain wanted to kill Abel. It would have been a blessing if God would have potentially intervened in that situation, but he didn't. We can't always say or say that we understand why God intervenes in some situations and he doesn't. In the life of his prophet Balaam, though, he did intervene through the voice of a donkey. God bless us to be able to listen to godly intervention, even if it comes in the form of people or things we don't ordinarily respect. Just be sensitive to his voice, because Balaam was trying to do too much when he had a simple command from God to bless Israel, but wanted to make this money using his gift from God and really couldn't find a way to reconcile the two. So he was, like we talked about before, watering down his ability to effectively do what God was asking him to do. The intervention was a blessing. And so hopefully this intervention in my process, going back and looking at old product and being like, that is not the best that I can do, can encourage you. Look, if things are going well for you right now, praying you stay on that track. But if you need to fix some things in your process, watch me do it publicly, and hopefully you'll be encouraged to fix whatever you need to fix to basically be happy with your work product. That means a lot, because if we're blessed to work, we spend a lot of time at work. So God willing, you do what you need to do. And as I often say, God's best to you as you go forward in him. Take care.